At one point or another, just about every industrial designer wants to create a cable that comes out the back of a product and then kind of coils up in the back. And this is really fun and easy to do. And in CAD, it can be difficult, but SolidWorks gives us some tools that actually make it kind of a pleasure to do that. So I've already created, obviously, the middle part of our cable, but we want to create the part that comes out the back. And the more randomness we can introduce to this, the better. So let's go to our top plane here, and I'm going to control drag that straight down so that it's roughly where we want it to be. Let me go to the right plane. We're just defining where we want the floor to be in this assembly, and that, frankly, is close enough. I'm going to call this 88.7 just to round it, and that looks like it's exactly where it needs to be. So I'll exit that. I'm not relating this to the rest of my assembly. As I've said before, cables really shouldn't be parametric. You shouldn't try to connect them to the rest of the assembly because they'll just do wonky, unreliable things anyway. You might as well just draw them and live with the fact that you'll have to change them manually if you need to change them. Now that I've created that plane, let's create a sketch on that plane, and I'm going to throw a circle anywhere out here, preferably not dead centered, somewhere off to the side so it looks a little more realistic. And then I'll just kind of make it roughly the size I want the coil to be. I'll exit that sketch. And then let's open this cable in its own part for a minute, just so that it's easier to see what's going on here. It's a very, very simple part so far, but it'll be easier to see if we simplify things. Next, let's go to our Features tab and over to the Curves commands, and we're going to create a helix and spiral, except that the spiral we're creating shouldn't be really even. So instead of, we are going to use pitch and revolution mode, and instead of using a constant pitch, let's actually set this to a variable pitch. And in the variable pitch area, we can set the pitch. That's this P column right here. We'll say the first pitch should be 4 millimeters. And I'm going to set the second one to 2 millimeters. That means that as it moves up, each revolution gets tighter, gets closer to the last one. So it looks like it's kind of sagging in the middle. Also, under revolutions, let's say how many revolutions we want that to be. I think 2.5 should be perfect. And we want for the diameter to be a little bit smaller. It's 119 at the base. Let's set it to 100 at the top so that we have kind of a cone shape going on there. Let me edit that feature really quick. And make sure you set the start angle to something reasonable. Right now, it's going probably the wrong direction. I'm going to switch this to counterclockwise, so we're going around that way. And let's make sure that we are starting in a decent place, like, say, 30 degrees. So this way our cable can come out, hit that, go around, and it looks like we actually don't want to stop this direction. So let's change this 2.5 just to 2. So it comes to here and keeps going straight off like that. Perfect. That looks good. Eyeballing is a big part of this. All right, so now we have what will be the beginnings of our coil, but we don't want that to look too perfect, right? Right now this coil looks unrealistically perfect, and we need it to be, I don't know, a little bit more wobbly. So let's hide this solid body for a second and show the original curve that comprises it, and that's frozen in space, so we can't mess that up. I'm going to hide this plane so it's easier to see. And here's where the kind of fun part comes in. Let's head up to the Sketch tab and create a new 3D sketch. And then grab our spline tool. And this is where things get fun. I can click one end here and then start snapping my spline at various points to my spiral. And it doesn't really matter where you do it or how often. I'm just going to kind of put a bunch of points out here. We're going to adjust these later, so don't worry about it. This is a fun trick. It's not any kind of technique that SolidWorks has made up or that you'll find on a SolidWorks certified professional exam or anything like that. But it is a useful one. And then we have that. Let's go to exit that tool. Let's head up to the View menu and make sure that sketch relations are visible. And you see a whole bunch of sketch relations on my screen that for the moment I don't really need. Let's go to our Display Delete Relations tab here. And I'm just going to delete all in this sketch. Delete all, just like that. They're all gone. All right, perfect. I'll select this endpoint and reconstrain it to the endpoint of that curve. Select this, control-click that other curve, make those tangent. Perfect. And now we just have to go through here and kind of wobble this curve up a little bit, basically. So what I would do is hide that helix now, because we don't need it. And now I can drag these points one by one, just to give this a little bit of unpredictability, which will tend to make it look much more realistic. But since we based it on that spiral, we have a really good three-dimensional starting point for this thing. And once we have that, we are well on our way.